Welcome everyone to First Wednesdays with Master Coach Gretchen Heido. This Wednesday, we're actually going to talk about mastering your mind to master your business. We're going to dig deep into the mindset of what your money beliefs are and how they might be affecting how you're getting clients. But with that, I'm going to pass it off to Gretchen.
Well, I'm so happy to see you ladies tonight. Thank you for coming. And like Christy said, we are going to be talking about money mindset. And here's the deal with money mindset. Money mindset is an overriding attitude that you have about your finances. This mindset really drives you in the way that you make your financial decisions. And it also can cause a big impact on your own ability to be able to hit your own money goals, because the way we think is what we create. And so what we're going to play with tonight is shifting your money mindset just a little bit. We'll explore it. We'll take a look and we'll see what your relationship with money is really like. This is also going to help you kind of overcome some of those money challenges. Sound good?
Excellent. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So even with this topic, since we're a small group, tell me what drew you to this particular topic.
Gosh, this has been my worst financial year ever. And it's really scary living in California.
Yeah.
And I know that I could be doing something more effectively that I'm not. And, I have really, what is it? I think, it's really a matter of how I manage money. Really even knowing how much I need to earn, how much I need to comfortably live and still save for the future, as well as, how much to ask for my clients in terms of fees. Yes. So I'm a social worker by training, and that's my worst disease. So my first career was social work. And I do think that I'm stuck when it comes to thinking about money in a more proactive, assertive way.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here and we're going to see what we can do with that. The awareness is always the first step. And even things like getting out of ambiguity and being really certain on what your numbers are things that can create safety. You use the word fear, it's kind of scary in California is what you said. And one of the things too is like, we can figure out what part is scary. And sometimes it's just the unknown of not knowing how much you need and those sorts of things that can cause that panic in our internal regulating system.
True.
Yeah. Thanks, Maria. Well, Jill, what about you?
So I'm very grateful that we're at a stage now where I'm in semi-retirement. This is something that I love to do, which is why I'm doing it. But I will say my struggle is putting packages together, really having an expectation of I'm just starting to raise my rates, but I'm like nervous about it, and truthfully, I raised it recently and no problem, actually, with the right client, it worked. But I do have a bit of a intimidation about saying, I really suggest 3 months. I mean, usually I'm saying, let's go for a month and try it. And then it does usually extend. But just all of that around what my value is, really.
Yeah, I really hear that. And isn't that interesting too, how with money, we make it about our value, when the truth is there is no amount of money that I could ever give to you, Jill, that would ever equate to your value. There is no amount of money that is worth who you are. You're priceless. And still this internal dialogue and feeling in society says that am I being valuable enough to pay this much? And we have it all wrapped up. And so that tonight, we're just going to kind of start the unraveling of it. We're going to take a look at some of these stories. So thank you both for being so vulnerable and truthful about what it is. I do appreciate that. Now, as we're thinking about this, one of the things that happens with financial stability and wealth comes from our beliefs and our attitudes that then create our actions. And what we want is to have actions that we're taking as if we have the financial choices that we're hoping for, the financial well-being that we want. We want to be taking those actions. So most of the time it's our mindset that then tells us like, oh, do this, do that, and gives us the scary story. But if we are behaving like someone that we think is wealthy or in a way that we feel is wealthy, that's going to change the mindset. So you can act your way into right thinking. Right actions cause right thinking. So for the person who, let's say, they're worried about retirement or those sorts of things, and they come from a lack mindset, they might say something like, well, I don't have anything to save for retirement. There's nothing extra. Instead of, I'm going to take this X amount of money, whatever it might be, from each paycheck, and I'm going to put it in there. It's a non-negotiable. And then suddenly they have money in this retirement account that they didn't because they were willing to do the disciplined action of what a wealthy person might do. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I did that all of my working life. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jill, I see this. Tell me what you're thinking.
You're doing like an act as if kind of thing. Is that what you're kind of suggesting?
Act as if, yes, but it's taking the right action regardless. So if you know that you need to save X amount each month to feel safe about your retirement, start small, even if you have to, but just start. Because the mind's always going to tell you a story of like, well, but I can't, and then I won't have this, but you go on a vacation or you do something else with it. And so this is the part about having a disciplined, committed action to help you to be able to reach some of these goals that you want, even if you're afraid.
Okay.
Yeah. And it takes some discipline, it takes changing that mindset and kind of fighting against it. So this is something that I always think is really fascinating. When you think about money and your view on money, I would love to know what it is. For some people, it's things like money doesn't grow on trees. Money is hard to make. Save it all. What are your viewpoints or messages that were given to you about money?
Good question. I know I grew up in a family that was very mindful and responsible about money. My parents managed their income exceptionally well. And it's really ironic that none of the three kids got that. I think for myself, I always think I have enough and that I'm going to be able to manage on what I have. And then something comes up and I'm finding right now, there are a lot of things that are automatically taken out of our account. I have things that I do monthly that I pay automatically. Right. And like today, here I was thinking I was getting paid and I forgot that my Verizon was coming out, my, some other utility was coming out, and that it was just going to take half my paycheck. So that's what's giving me the impression that I'm not even responsibly managing or knowledgeable about what's going on with my money. I think it really takes you being actively managing it on a daily basis.
Okay, so your ideas then about money have to do with responsibility and irresponsibility.
Yes.
Managing it in non-management. So just pay attention to that.
Okay.
What else about abundance, or having money is the message that you have? It's easy to make, it's hard to come by. Like where do you fall on that?
To me, it's hard to come by, especially being in California. When I was employed with Vanguard, believe it or not, that was 22 years of my life in a financial institution. I had a great income and I was saving for retirement and I really thought I was going to be okay. But not having that income, I haven't had that much income since I left Vanguard. So now it's been how do I manage that through my coaching business? So how do I have it? How many clients do I need to be able to make a certain income, to live where I live? How much income do I need to have? What's too much in terms of expenses? And what do I need? You know, I'm probably going much deeper into this, but I'm trying to answer your question.
That's really important. You know, the other key that came up is you said, so I could be okay. So you also have a belief that it's the money that makes you okay.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I would even hear myself say that.
That's-
Absolutely. I beat myself up over this behavior and really feel very that I've done this to myself. It's nobody else's fault. I did this.
Yeah.
And
And
I
just,
feel I can fix it.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm striving to get a hold of.
Yeah, and to do. Okay, we're going to pause there. Thank you for sharing that. Jill, do you want to share it all there about, you know, kind of your view and the
You
message?
know, my views have shifted. When I was working full time, I was making a lot of money and it was abundance. I felt I could do whatever I wanted. There was such freedom there. And then when I stopped working and raised my kids, so, you know, the good news is that my husband shares our value, which is you don't do anything you can't afford. Okay. So we buy our cars outright. Everything is outright so that we don't have this thing hanging. But I think maybe because I'm not working full time, I'm feeling more restricted now. And it's you know, we're fine, but with this coaching thing, trying to work within what I'm making to support whatever else I'm doing, courses or whatever. So I'm feeling restricted much more than I was when I was making a lot of money. So it changed for me.
Yeah.
Strangely, it has really changed.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really hear that. It went from abundance and it sounds like ownership as well, that you were earning quite a bit before the kids. You maybe felt like you had a little bit more ownership. Now it's more restricted. You're okay. And again, there's that thing about the money makes us, oh, we're okay. But there's some restriction there. So these are just, there's no judgment on any of it. We all have our own thing when it comes to money. But here's the deal with money. The way we view money is the way we view our other relationships. So think of a relationship with a loved one or a friend and the way that you interact. Both of you use some interesting words. Inspect yourself for places where you're only okay if the relationship's okay. You know, and where does that feel true? Or where there's restriction, or where there's irresponsibility or over responsibility, that the way that we behave with money, we take that pattern into the way we do our other relationships. So I'm just going to pause there. How's that sitting? That one's kind of a bigger concept. Wow.
Wow. I don't have I don't have a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Friends.
I have friends.
Yeah. I'm like, you seem nice. I think you probably have a friend. Yeah.
I have friends all over the country. Yeah. But I raised my son on my own.
But
So
even your relationship with your son, think about it. Is there a piece of you that you're,
yeah.
you're okay if he's okay type of thing?
Yeah. I did good with him. He's a great human being. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Jill? You resonate with any of that?
Yeah, I think, you know, not so much with the friends, but definitely both my kids had learning disabilities and much anxiety of how to advocate for them. And definitely during that period of time, you know, they were a reflection of me somehow. I had to, thank God they're doing great. But I think that, yeah, it was a very personal journey for me.
Yeah.
But I now that they're doing great, doesn't mean I'm feeling great. I mean, I feel good. I'm doing well. I'm just saying I'm having a hard time relating to this with the money thing, truthfully.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. Just keep listening and you'll sit in it and you'll get to experience it. So here's the deal. When we have more of an abundant mindset, with the money, and it doesn't feel restricted or it doesn't feel hard, you'll notice probably the way you view your other relationships, parental relationships, either with your children or your parents, sibling relationships, spouses, friends, employers. We use the same words. So when you have someone, and you can do this with your clients, when they come to you and they're talking about something, especially with money, because it comes up in coaching, and they say, well, money is not easy to come by. Check out their relationship. You will be interested to see how maybe for them, if they're dating, well, love's not easy to come by. It's the view, it's the lens of the world. And that's what becomes similar, is that for you right now, Jill, with the restriction, there's some restriction about money. I wonder where else in your life, in some of the relationships, there might feel like there's some restriction, because it's an interesting word to you. So check in, does that feel true anywhere? And it doesn't have to, we don't need to force anything.
I'm not really relating to that. I'll have to think about it after.
Yeah. No problem. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, but sit on this, percolate. And for your clients, my guess is it will. Something else, I had a client, she came to me and her story was, well, people like us, meaning her family, we don't make that kind of money. We don't make that kind of money. So what a box she was putting herself in right there. In another coaching session, it was something like, well, people like us don't marry people like that. This was someone that seemed out of her league type of thing. People like us. So it's the view, for her, she had a lot of people like us things that were keeping her in place. And a lot of places where she was trying to find value that weren't the thing that were ever going to make her valuable. And so just notice your relationship with money. Sometimes your clients will say things like, money's hard to come by. Money, I hate money. I hate thinking about money. Money's the root of all evil. Money, and they have this shame around money. So this is very deep feelings that can be associated with money where it doesn't always feel good. And sometimes it really can be like a bad relationship, the way we've behaved in some relationships. So just something for you to notice and for you to think about. So here's something else too, your money mindset is a little bit like emotional baggage that you're carrying with you that can drive you to take action or to stay paralyzed.
Yeah, stay paralyzed.
Or you would stay paralyzed? Okay. Yeah. So action or paralyzation. And we do that, right? It's like the thinking. So some people spur forward and they get into a lot of doing, and some people just retract. Neither is right or wrong, but that mindset, it's the belief that you have about the money, the story that you've created around the money that creates the behavior, and the story is neither true nor false. It just is. And you could have a different story. And that's why this is important, is that when you decide to change your money mindset, you will lose some of the fear or intimidation that you might have about money, some of that defeatism mindset that can be there around money, like I'll never have that, or the procrastination of getting started. Let me just pause there. What are you getting from this?
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think that especially when it comes to big purchases or big things, yeah, I definitely have a lot of anxiety about it.
Yeah.
And we could figure it out, but it's very unsettling. It's very unsettling. Yeah.
I hear that, and how interesting too, that, so here's another word that we add to the bucket about money, anxiety, figure it out. So none of these things have been like, it's easy, I feel love, so there's always this push and pull with money and the things that the story that we've given to it and the power that we've given to it. Really, when you think of what it is, that it truly is just like this little piece of paper thing, or it's your card, that's the money. it's really wild that we have so many emotions attached to it. I mean, for you to be able to have anxiety, for some people to have complete dread, fear, insecurity, lack of motivation, those sorts of things. It's like, this is a big topic. And that's why I spend some time on this in Stairway to Six too. I just think it's really important. So when you find yourself saying to someone, I don't have the money for that, what do you really mean?
Wow.
I'm not putting it as a priority because I could figure it out somehow.
Yep.
But for whatever that reason is, and that timing, I don't have, that's not a priority for me.
It's not a priority for me. Yeah. Yeah. Maria, when you say you don't have money, what do you really mean?
That I think that's interesting. In the past, when I was employed, yes, I would agree. I had other priorities or I had other focus. What's scary for me now is I literally do not have any money. So I have never been in this situation in my life. I always had a means of where it was going to come from. And now I'm working on how do I create that?
There you go. Yeah, good. So with potential clients, when you go to have a money conversation and they say they don't have the money, remember that most of the time, all that has happened is they're engaged in their money story. To Jill's point, it's just not a priority right now. Now, for Maria's point, maybe they really do not have it, but they're hoping to, or they're working towards it. For some people, when we give our prices, and Jill, you were talking about how you've raised your prices, that when we give our prices, it can feel uncomfortable for us because of our own money barriers, causes anxiety, it causes fear, it causes whatever it is. So remember, when you go to talk to your clients about money and they say, well, that's a lot of money, or why is it so much, or whatever, their initial reaction is, you don't need to get involved with that. That's just their money story. Instead, you can ask, tell me what you're really saying. And there's no judgment. Tell me what you're really saying when you're saying, I don't have the money. And ask them. Yeah. You love that. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're bringing up is really, there are whole other layers of issues that are going on. It's not just the money, it's choices.
And what I have found with everyone that I've worked with, whether they decide to make the investment or they don't, is it's not personal. It is not personal. That is something for everyone to remember. If someone works with you or not, or decides to invest or not, it is not personal. When I go to the car lot and I decide to buy a car or not, it is not personal. It's not. I have many other things that I'm thinking about. Does it have the heated seats? Does it have a backup camera? Does it fit the thing? Do I want to pay that much? And sometimes it's not that I don't have the money. I don't want to pay that. I don't want to. And it's either not a priority or I haven't found the value in it yet. So when we are too fast with potential clients and they say, oh, I don't have the money, a lot of times what they're really saying is, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know what coaching is. Why would I want to do that to just talk? I don't understand. Yes, because they haven't had a coaching experience. And so that's where, when you slow down the process before you even get to the part where you might propose a money amount, give an experience. Let them see what it's like to work with you. That will help people then, when you do make your highest recommendation, they know what it means. Buying a car, I think, is easier than hiring a coach. We've all driven a car. For most people, at least, they've driven a car. They basically understand what you're going to do. And, you probably still would go and test drive it, but like, you know what it is. Coaching, we don't know. We have these ideas, but we really don't know. And we don't know how it's going to work for us. And we all know someone who has a coach, but maybe we think that person's a little off or whatever it might be. So then we have our judgment on that. Or maybe we're not those kind of people who need a coach because we've got a lot of ideas about what that means. So get under the story, get under the story of what it really means and find out. Be curious.
I love that.
Yeah. Tell me which part you love about it. Yeah, go ahead.
It was really interesting because I had this experience with a client I started working with this year. And she's probably what I have identified now going forward as my ideal client. And I couldn't really until I had this experience working with her. But given, her background, the work that we're doing together, and she was paying my fee very comfortably up until a point where she said, I have to stop doing this because I can't afford it. And as we really delved into it, what I learned was that she's about 45 and has never had a child and is not dating. And so she wanted to do, what is it? I'm not even sure what it's called, but she wanted to get embryos. She wanted to get embryo, fetus. In vitro. So that was a very expensive venture.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, what she ended up doing. So now she has these eggs and
I hope it works.
Working together again, but it was interesting, but I didn't buy her explanation at first because she's a PhD, she's a professor. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have the money? But I did pursue the conversation and find out that there was a lot more going on. There was a lot more underneath it. But the work we've been doing together has been really invaluable. So we've continued working together. Yeah.
Good. That's important. And so here's the reason that I bring up this part is that when you find yourself either saying, I don't have the money, what that does is it reinforces lack in your subconscious. It's better to say the truth. Even if you just want to be nice to the person, like, yeah, no, I can't, I don't have the money, fine. But to yourself, tell the truth that this isn't a priority right now. I don't want to pay that amount of money. I'm not seeing the value in this. I'd rather spend my money elsewhere. I'm not interested, but always tell yourself the truth, because if you do not, there's the lack story. Oh, I don't have the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something I started doing a few years ago. So rarely do I say I don't have the money unless I'll say right out, it doesn't seem something of value for me. Because I guess because that really does feel deceptive when you say that. It's kind of interesting.
Well,
Wow.
it's the same thing that we do when someone wants us to go to lunch or dinner or any of the things and we don't want to, and we say, oh, I'm busy. You're not really busy. You just don't want to, and the busy thing begets more busyness. And so it's better to just say, thank you for asking. I can't. That's it, and for us to start saying our truth, because the subconscious is very powerful.
Yeah.
If it hears you constantly saying you're too busy, if it hears you constantly saying, oh, I don't have the money, guess what? It will create that where it's better. It's better to just say it's not a priority. Jill, what were you going to say?
You really hit a nerve with this. It's very good for me to hear that.
Good.
Because it really, I'll say the truth to me. Not necessarily to other people, but yeah, there is that feeling of lack, and it's really feels not good. It's just not a good way to walk in the world,
And here's the other piece of it too. Remember, we're no longer in survival mode. For a long time, we've been in survival mode, and survival has been given to us and in our legacy from our ancestors as well. When we really track back our 7 generations, wow, all of the things that they've been through, they really were surviving a lot of that time. And so kind of it's in our DNA, but we're not in survival mode. So when you have that lack story, remember, oh yeah, that's just the default of the DNA of survival mode. I don't have to just survive. We're all
a lot of that comes from our parents, for sure.
That's what I'm saying. And then if you look at it, it's like this. So your parents gave you this little bundle of all the ways the best they could. And you're like, but I don't want your bundle, but they have no other bundle to give you. And you're like, I have to pick something up, but I don't want that. Okay, I'll pick it up. and their parents gave it to them and the same thing. So really, when you trace back lineage, it's amazing. You know how in some families, like people have children out of wedlock, but it runs in the family for many generations. Like they just don't get married and there's no judgment on that, whatever. Or people who don't finish high school or who never have a cent to their name or whatever it is, you can trace back people's stories. You are never the only one in your family with that story, ever. It is not unique to your lineage. So, and that's the power of it too, that when you think of your own money story, this is the work of breaking legacy that's been given to us subconsciously. And we don't think about it. We pick it up and we're just doing it because it was programmed. And this is the part of, wait a minute, is this the legacy I want to leave for myself? Is this the legacy I want to leave to those around me? And so it feels like, you came here and we're talking about money and coaching conversations and that sort of thing, but it's so important to take a look at it for us of what am I telling myself? Because if we're dealing with our own bundle, when we're talking to our potential clients and our story is a lack story, then of course, when we say it's $3,000, we can barely say it because we already have a lack story. Well, nobody has $3,000 to spend on that or $500 or $50,000, whatever the dollars are because of our own lack. So that's why this is important to clean up or at least to notice as well. And it all starts with telling your truth. Tell your truth. This isn't a priority for me right now. Thanks for inviting me. Sounds like a great program, but I'm a no. And it doesn't need to be more than that. And you don't have to feel bad about it either. We've also been taught to be polite about money, or that the polite thing to do is to say, I'll think about it when you're not thinking about it. You already know it's a no, but we're supposed to be nice. Right? So it's so strange how many rules get picked up, again, all about money. Money is not even a person. And look at all the ways we interact with it and dance with it.
Got it.
Yeah. Tell me what's coming up for you.
I was thinking of all of the maybe that I've tried to be intentional about responses, but I'm sure there's been times that I've said, no, I can, but it's really, no, I don't want to. Yeah. And I generally can find a nicer way of saying it. So, but I'm trying to think of things that I know I've just dismissed because I didn't really want to do it. And I wasn't really sure how to say it that didn't hurt the person's feelings or leave them with some poor, feelings about it.
That's the part. That's it, and so again, that's all hurting people's feelings and everything. It's money. It's so strange that it could even give us a feeling, but it does. And so the reason we're spending so much time identifying your own money story and feelings is because your clients are going to have them too. Yeah. And it's just important to remember that when you propose an amount and they, or whatever it is, it has nothing to do with you. You're not in trouble. You didn't do the wrong thing. You don't need to go and suddenly lower your price. You're just witnessing somebody else's money conscious level. That's it. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. And if you're out there as a professional and we're in sales, yes, we're in serving because we're coaching, but so much of what we have to do is gain the sale with the client through the serving. You have to put yourself out there. You're going to get all sorts of responses. So you could offer the exact same thing to 5 people. 2 of them maybe want it. 2 of them say, I'll think about it. And 1 of them is just a no. None of the answers are better or worse. It's just where the person's money conscious level is and what they're finding valuable. Yeah, go ahead, Jill.
So there have been times that people say, I can't afford it. And I will kind of negotiate with them. I don't always feel great about it, but I do want them as a client. I don't do that unless I want them as a client, obviously. So where does that fit into this?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I keep a certain amount of time available to scholarship. I just do. There's a lot of people I want to work with. I don't have time to work with everybody that I would like to work with. It's impossible. And humans are so cool, right? They just are. And they're so interesting. And not all of them have the income to pay. Now, most of the time I will check it out first. I want to test the yes. I want to see their level of creativity on what they can figure out. I don't ever just discount it right away. I usually will do it in stages as well, that, all right, if it's one price, I might take $1,000 off just to see, does that move the needle? And sometimes that's enough. The other thing is some people are taught to never take the first price, that, you know, they were just taught to haggle. They were taught, and there's nothing wrong with it, but they were taught never take the first price. Okay, fine. That's okay with me. And I don't even have to talk to them about it. That's, you know your number. But if that's still not enough, then I know that probably is more of a money issue. And I think of what I'm willing to do for that person. Usually I will change the program. They don't get as many sessions with me, but it can be at a fee that feels more comfortable to them. You know, so I might do that. And then once in a while, I do some gifting of sessions for people. If it's someone that I adore and really want to. And that's the only way that I do that, you know, otherwise I don't, but always really space it out. So if a person says to you, you know, Jill, I'd love to work with you, I don't have the money. You don't say, well, let me take $500 off. What you ask them is, let's just say you were going to put up the investment. What would have to happen in our coaching to make it worth it? And you get them into the possibility, but really ask those questions. You know, what would have to make it worth it? With my Stairway to 6 program, I've asked people, what will have to happen for this $6,000 investment to be worth it for you? And if they can't figure it out, I have 2 people right now that are like, yeah, I'm thinking about it. The things that they were saying that would make it worth it, I wouldn't pay it if I were them. It doesn't sound worth it to me at all from their standpoint. And I have no feeling about that. It's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like it's a good fit. And that's where too, we're hearing, is it a good fit? And they're hearing, oh, wait, this is what would be worth it. Huh? Can I really get that if I do this work? So it's another opportunity before we back off, because the minute people say, I don't have money, we feel like we have to be polite. Oh, don't talk to people about their money. That's rude. So there, do you see what's happening? Like there's a lot of pieces there. It was a long-winded answer, Jill. Did it help?
Yeah, you know, I just haven't. The good news is that I usually gift the first session, so they are already there before the money usually even comes up. So I've been doing that, but there have been a couple of people that have said, you know, money's an issue before we ever even got anywhere. So yeah, I mean, okay, I'll play with it.
Play with it. And for the ones who say money's an issue before they even got there, you even get there, you know, all you're hearing is that they have a money story. It just got a money story.
Exactly.
People figure out how to pay for what they find valuable.
Right.
You know, you even said, Jill, you could figure it out. You can figure things out. So if something is valuable enough, you'll get into figuring it out mode. You know, and if it's not, it's not, and that's fine. It's not being polite. It's just not valuable enough. That's okay. But for you to really tell the truth to yourself, like, yeah, I don't find this valuable enough for that amount of money. That's all right. But we are creators. So the other part too with this is, so our mind's going to say whatever our mind's going to say. It causes anxiety. I'm scared of it about money. We really want to work on having a positive money mindset. And so one of the ways that you can do that is with something specific that you think about that you want to do with your money, or creating a money mantra. And the thing with this is you really want to be able to keep the mantra simple, and you want it to be action-based so that you can cement it around a goal. So maybe it's something like, you know, money comes easily and I give freely, because there's an action around that. It could be something like, you know, I am friends with money and I have a good relationship. But always make sure that with it, there's something that's happening in it, whether it's the relationship. It's not just, I like money. That's nice. But it's, you know, I have a good relationship with money. And say that to yourself. I'm knowledgeable and responsible with my money. But play with some that might work for you, because it'll be interesting, even if you just kind of say it to yourself for a week, to see what starts shifting around money.
I like that.
Good. Good. I'm
Gonna
so
work on one. Good. Yeah, taking responsibility.
It's just important.
Yes.
Most of
Yeah,
the time,
I think what's been helpful is just to not take it personally when people say that they've got their own money story. So that was impactful for me.
yeah, I'm glad. So for a positive money mindset, here's some other things to think about. When you feel yourself getting ready to say, like, I can't afford it, instead of seeing the roadblock, see the opportunity. Even if you don't want to do it, you can, instead of I can't, because that's a roadblock, it could be I'm willing to pass this up. Really different. Roadblock is I can't find it, I can't do it.
Yeah.
The opportunity is I'm willing to pass it up. It's okay. Totally willing to take a pass on it.
Mhm.
That will help. Recognizing that financial situations can change. You do have power over your financial situation. Not being afraid of knowing your numbers. That's really, really important. You know, we get very afraid of knowing our numbers and we feel like it's going to crush us. When you know your numbers, it's kind of like getting sober in our thinking, that when we're sober with our money, we have a much better relationship with it.
Could you say more about knowing your numbers? What you mean by that?
Yeah. So like, how much do you need to live each month? You know, how much do you need to live in a really great way with vacations and everything else? And how much do you need just to get by? And
Got
to
it.
really know the number, that way you're not afraid of it. Paying attention to what do you have coming in? So when some entrepreneurs come to me and they're like, I have no idea, the first thing we do is we get an idea. And not just an idea, we get pragmatic and we write it down. You should know your numbers. You know,
Yeah.
you should be able to forecast your numbers and know your numbers. Otherwise, yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty in that. And sure, maybe you will end up with more, maybe it will be less, but you should always have a plan to know your number.
That's probably what's getting in my way right now. I don't know.
Yeah. So maybe for some homework, if it feels like a good exercise, figure out your number. You know,
I'll
figure out
work on that. Yeah. This evening and tomorrow. Yeah. Thank
yeah,
you.
you're welcome. And really just take a look at it. And always remembering too, the other thing when it comes to this with having a positive mindset is that small steps count. Small steps count. So when people feel so overwhelmed, like, but I want to be a coach that earns whatever the number is for you, and it feels so far away, that first contract counts. That connection call counts. Being on this call counts. You know, it counts. Small steps create bigger actions. And then letting go of the shame that you feel around money. So many people feel shame about the way they spent, shame about the way they didn't save, shame about not knowing, shame about not working, shame. Letting go of the shame. That was the old relationship with money, and you're willing to partner with money in a different way. Yeah. So what'd you get from this tonight? What did you hear?
Tremendous amount. I think, first of all, knowing the numbers and letting go of the shame is huge. Those things can make a critical difference for
Yeah.
me in moving forward. I'm going to make sure I have that by this time tomorrow. I'll know exactly what my numbers are.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. That's a great way to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a really, there's a couple of things, which is I don't relate to some of the things you're telling me,
Yeah.
but it only says to me that there are so many stories out there and that it's really worth digging in and not just taking it at face value. So that's in itself just very valuable for a client, even if they don't move forward, to really delve into it for their own ability to see their story.
Mhm.
And then I really, you know, I think it is about what am I really saying when I say I don't want to do something because of the money? What is that about? And be honest about that. So I like that a lot too, because that's a personal thing for sure.
Yeah, that's good. And you know, it's exactly what you said. Not everyone's going to relate to everything. You know, all of us are varied people with varied perspectives, but we all were given the bundle. We all have the legacy issue, even if it's an abundant legacy issue. Everyone was given something, It's people's money stories that are interacting with our own money stories. That's the clash, and that's what makes us nervous about pricing. That's what it is. So I'm really glad that you ladies came tonight and that you were so vulnerable in the space. I appreciate that. This is all a part of Stairway to Six, and I'm glad that we could be here together. And Christy, can you stop the recording? And you two just hang on one second. And thank you for everyone who's listening.